Hey everyone, it's Wednesday night. It's time for another Eat Clean, Get Lean. And again, this is Mike with Susan.
Hello.
And yes, and for those of us who are not on the East Coast, it's freezing out. It's getting cold already. Supposed to get down into the single digits tonight. So hopefully you're going to be able to keep warm. And we're just waiting for a few more people to jump on. I'm going to open up the chat box here, and I'm going to share my screen in just a second. Now, Susan was nice enough to type in that we'll be starting shortly, and we will be. But you have the opportunity to go to the chat box and ask questions. During the presentation, I generally can't see the chat box because my screen opens up wide with my PowerPoint presentation. So I always check at the end to see if there's any questions. And then after we're done with the presentation, I always go on to Facebook and I go over to the VIP page for the Keenan Fitness page, where everyone should be a VIP in that page. And I answer questions. And we can talk the whole night away. If you choose to. I'm just waiting for one or two more people to get on and we'll get started. This week we're going to start to talk about some different options we can use in our nutrition program. Also, just to let you know, we have a brand new scale in the office. So if anyone needs to come in and get weighed, please do so. Also, by this Friday, I know some people have not been following through on this, so I'm going to make another plea that people do their measurements and their weight so we can start to calculate percent body fat and waist to hip ratios and waist to chest ratios for the men, because we want to see changes in body composition. It's not just about the scale, it's how your clothes fit you, what kind of energy do you have, and again, as we've said 1,000,001 times, what's your hunger and cravings like. So let's get right to it. I'm going to open this up. Susan's sitting next to me on the right, and she's going to be able to tell if my screen is showing up the way I think it's supposed to be so you guys can see it. Now, I know you guys are on about a 30-second delay, so I can see it perfectly good on my screen, but I'm going to wait for Susan to kind of give me a thumbs up before we start moving forward so that I know that everyone can see my screen. And we're in week 6 now of Eat Clean and Get Lean, week 6, and it's the move to maintenance and mental and physical wellness. So all right, Susan's giving me a thumbs up. That's great. So what does it mean, maintenance? Maintenance doesn't necessarily mean that we've achieved our optimal goal and we're not going to move any further. What it is we're trying to get you into a lifestyle that you can continue from this point forward, and not one of those, well, I lost 10 pounds and then I gained 20 pounds back kind of thing. Or, you know, I used to be a size 12, now I'm back to a size 20. We want to get to a point where you have good hunger, no hunger rather, or cravings, good energy. You're as lean as you'd like to be, and you can do all the things you want to do and wear all the clothes you want to wear and go and do whatever you want to do. Hopefully get rid of any of the pharmaceuticals that you're on and start to have a lifestyle where you can enjoy yourself for many, many years to come. Nobody's goal on this call is to get old and become infirmed and not enjoy their life. We have a tremendous lifestyle here and down at the Jersey Shore, and everybody should be able to pick up and go to the beach or go play golf or go for a hike, go out and do the things we want to do. So that's the mindset we want to cultivate here. And this isn't a lose weight quick scheme. This is a let's develop a healthy lifestyle where we can sustain a healthy physical fitness program, activity level, nutrition, and learn how to identify what we might need to change moving forward in order for us to achieve that. Okay? So let's move on. So we've talked a lot about the 3-2-1 dinner plate. This is for the eat less, exercise less model. where we have half the plate is vegetables, green vegetables, salad, broccoli, kale, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, a source of lean protein, and very little fat or starch. That was in the eat less, exercise less model. And again, just to review that, that was your 3 meals a day. And with the long periods between food to aid in neuroendocrine immune recovery. So what does that big fancy term mean again? It just lets you know that if we can go 5 to 6 hours between meals, that we're going to be more in a fat metabolism because our blood sugar is going to start to drop a little lower. And also with the evening, whatever you finish your evening meal, we want to try to go as long as we can the next day before we have breakfast. So for example, I haven't eaten dinner yet, and I'll probably eat by 8:45, 9 o'clock tonight. And then my goal, I've identified in my schedule tomorrow, my goal is not to eat again until about 10:30 tomorrow. So I want to try to space that out. So that my body will want to be more in a fat burning mode. Now, in the eat less, exercise less model, 2 of those 3 meals are protein shakes, 20 to 50 grams of protein. So, for example, okay, for some of those people out there who are using Plant Fusion, I think 1 scoop, and Susan's going to kind of give me a nod, is about 20 grams of protein for a scoop of Plant Fusion. If you're using the ID Life meal replacement shake, that's 23 grams per scoop, okay? So how to identify how much protein you need? Again, I try to use the 25 and 50 kind of rule. If your lean mass is...
It's still stuck.
It's still stuck on that page. It's not moving off that page.
So go back.
Okay, hold on a second. Susan just told me that you guys can't see my page.
In that box.
Hold on a second, guys. I'm gonna
present to everyone.
Okay.
And you should be fine.
I think we're gonna be okay now.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what I didn't see.
Okay.
Stay on that other.
Susan wants me to stay on the other page until
Here.
such time that you guys can see everything. All right, because I need to move to the next page. I can't advance off this page.
Yes, you can.
If I want to advance.
Wait.
Hold on, guys. Oh, we're back to share. All right, I'm just going to keep talking. If Susan needs to move the slide for me, she's going to. The amount of protein per meal is dependent on the amount of lean mass that you have. All right, so if you're about 100 pounds lean mass, you're probably, and lean mass means the weight of your body minus your stored body fat. So about 100 pounds of lean mass, you're looking at about 20 to 25 grams of protein per meal. If you're, say, about 175 or more, you're going to be closer to the 50. Okay, so it's always better to have a little more protein than not enough, because the 3 components of the meal that are very important in starting off any meal is the amount of protein, fiber, and water that's in the meal. All right, now Susan's going ahead. She's moving my screen around a little bit, guys. So, okay, now I can take it from here. Okay, we're just having a little trouble with the slides, but I know everyone can hear me. So as soon as your slides catch up to mine, we'll be fine. So anyway, getting back to what I was saying, the protein, the fiber, and the water are huge components of the meal. And again, it's better to have too much protein, too much fiber, and too much water. You really can't have too much. And remember, protein is a satiating food. So I always use the reference at Thanksgiving when they start passing around the turkey and people say, oh, I had enough, thanks anyway. Yes, we're good. people say, no, I don't want any more turkey, I'm okay. But of course, if they bring out pie, everyone's like, wow, sure, I could have a piece of pie, you know, because starches and carbohydrates are so attractive to us. Again, I talk about this. I'll talk about it now. I'll talk about it a million more times. In our hunter-gatherer days, we were not exposed to much starchy carbohydrate because we were moving. We didn't have time to cultivate wheat or watch sweet potatoes grow. But when we did find it in our travels, our body said, yes, eat this, because we don't know when we're going to see it again. And of course, our brain and nervous system runs on sugar as well. Isn't it really great that our heart is purely oxidative? It burns fat as a primary fuel source, where our brain and nervous system burn sugar as a primary fuel source. So we have two huge major organ systems that are not competing for foodstuffs. They're not competing for their primary source of energy. I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so again, in the meals, in the protein shakes, add fiber if needed, but do not add fat or fruits. Okay, use water, unsweetened almond milk or coconut milk. Use easy to digest proteins. We talk about Plant Fusion. The one protein that we've used a lot that everyone's really starting to get into is the lactose-free, casein-free whey protein that ID Life has. So if you want to try a packet of that, come on in. I have it in packets of samples. People find it very palatable. They find it easy to digest and very satiated, and it also has milled chia seed in it, which is an excellent source of fiber. So again, for those people who say, well, Mike, you know, I don't want to do 2 shakes a day. Can I just do 1? And can I have another whole food meal with the other? Yes, the answer to that is yes. And the whole food meal that people should be eating would be a salad-based meal of protein and lots of greens, okay? And we always talk about adding starch at the end of the day, because starch will give you that sugar boost that you need to help you sleep through the night. Okay, and again, the EL exercises, a lot of, you know, for people who've been on the call, this is week 6. We've really kind of talked this through. I'll just run through it real quick. These activities are designed to help you balance out your hormones. So the 3 and the 3-2-1 is 3 R&R activities per week. These are activities designed to help the body recover, repair, and regenerate by balancing out the nervous system and lowering stress hormones, things like naps, physical affection, time with pets, laughter, saunas, hot baths, Epsom salt baths, contrast showers, massage, restorative yoga, Tai Chi. For me, this would be a round of golf, because that's something I enjoy doing. It's a rest and relaxation activity for me. Then, of course, we have the 2 traditional weight training workouts, because we want to maintain lean mass. And this is us going through the 4 sets of 10 repetitions, using a weight that we can only lift between 8 to 12 times. If you can't lift it 8 times, it's too heavy. If you can lift it 12 or more times, it's probably too light. And we want you to hit temporary muscle failure somewhere around 10. And again, using the major muscle groups of the body, doing compound movements. Compound movements meaning more than one joint or more than one muscle group. So that would be a squat. Squats work the glutes, the quads, the hamstrings, the calves, and also the core. Or a leg press. A chest press could be a bench press. It could be a push-up. A back exercise like a lat pull down or a row. And shoulders. Shoulders could be an overhead press or it could be a high pull. And then 1 hour per day of leisurely walking. Okay, and here's an example of a 3-2-1 workout. Again, exercise 1, you're seeing a shoulder press. You're doing 8 to 12 repetitions. It says repeat 3 times. I'd prefer you to do it 4 times because we're only doing 4 exercises. And then it says rest 2 minutes. I think 1 minute is sufficient, but if you need it, certainly you can use 2. The next one is your squat. The next one is your rowing motion, where you're leaning over at the waist, hinging at the hips. You'll always hear me say, protecting the back, keeping the head and chest elevated. Or number 4 is the push-up. Also, you can do a bench press, a flat bench press, incline bench press. Okay, now we're going to talk about what most of us did the last week, and that's the eat more, exercise more model. And that's a 3-2-2 approach. So now we're doing more exercise and we're doing more food as well. So we have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you notice the plate looks a little bit different than the 3-2-1. We still want to load it up with vegetables. We still want to have that 20 to 50 grams of protein per meal, but now we're adding a starch and or fat at every meal. And we're also adding snacks during the course of the day as well. So let's talk about that. In the EM, the exercise more, eat more model, we have a 3-2-2. We're having 3 meals a day. We're still trying to get those long periods between meals to try to keep us in a fat-burning metabolism. The 2 is, in addition to the 3 meals, we're going to do 2 protein shakes or 2 protein snacks. Okay, again, we kind of talked about how those shakes are made. Protein snacks could be, say, 3 to 4 ounces of turkey breast, you know, a protein of some sort. Just so you know, nuts and seeds and nut butters do not count as proteins. They are fats. Look on the label. It'll tell you that. If it says 190 calories per serving and 150 calories of that is from fat, it can't count as a protein. And we want to do, I say you can do a starch at every meal, but at the bottom says 2 times starch. And post-workout is a great time for you to do a starch because you've depleted the glycogen levels of the muscles and they're going to be receptive to uptake of glucose in those meals. Because again, we're working a little harder. So here is your 3-2-2 workouts for your eat more, exercise more model. You're going to do 3 traditional weight training workouts like I just described, the 4 sets of 10, trying to get to temporary muscle failure. You'll know you're a temporary muscle failure because you start to lose technique and form and you can no longer lift the weight, which is a good thing. We want breathlessness. We want burning. We want to gain lean mass. It says gain muscle or metabolic change with 10 rep sets per max per set. So if you've been training with me lately, you know, we may go from one exercise to the other, but I'll say, okay, let's do 10 and move. Let's do 10 reps on the next exercise, move, 10 and move, and we'll keep moving. Okay, so that's the 3. The 2 is short, intense intervals or metabolic conditioning. So what could that be? That could be a burst training activity. That could be getting on the elliptical or the bike and pedaling slow for a minute and then doing a 10 to 12 second all-out burst. 10 to 12 seconds, as hard as you can, as fast as you can, like running out of a burning building. That's the intensity I want you to have. And then you go back to a 3 to 4 minute slow walk or slow pedal or slow elliptical movement, and then you're going to do another burst. Now, I'll make sure that the video we did on burst training so everyone's clear as to what burst training looks like and how it's done. I actually have 2 videos. One is Susan on the elliptical or me on the elliptical doing the burst training. And then I have a lecture that goes with that too. So I know everyone's gotten it. We'll send it out again so that there's no questions as to what people should be doing. Last week, I sent out a video to everybody. And if you haven't got it, if you're new on the call this week and you haven't gotten it, we'll make sure you get it. You're going to send me a message in Facebook. But last week, I sent out a video at the end of last week's call that demonstrated the difference between the traditional weight training workout and a metabolic chain workout. Okay, so Susan will just make a note that we send all those videos out again this week. And if you already have it in your email box, just discard it. Okay, and the other thing is at least 2 days a week, 1 hour of walking. Okay, now you can walk every day. There is nothing wrong with walking, and I strongly encourage it. But in the 3-2-2 protocol, we're just saying that if you're going to do strength training on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday, Thursday, you're doing some burst training or metabolic training, then take the weekend to do your walking. but you can walk more frequently than that. You'll never hurt yourself from walking, okay? So the workout used in the Eat More, Exercise More model is fast-paced. You're going to learn multiple workouts. We have probably 30, 40, 50 videos of metabolic training videos on the RX Studio. Again, if you're new, there are some new people on the call, and you do not have a username and password for the RX Studio. We need to know that. I don't work with everyone on that. I know Susan does, but she's not making this call right now. I am. So I'm telling you that if you don't have it, you have to make sure that you get in touch with us. Get in touch with me, and I'll make sure Susan gets to you. Okay, and we feel that this is the best approach to try to lose stored body fat and continue to burn muscle. Now remember, the body doesn't like to do what we call metabolic multitasking. It doesn't like to lose fat and build muscle at the same time. Okay, but because we started in the first 4 weeks of an Eat Less, Exercise Less, More model, we did put you into a very healthy fat-burning metabolism, kind of like rolling a ball down a hill. So that ball's still moving in that direction, but now we're also adding in some strength training that would help to encourage the growth of lean mass, muscle tone, definition, okay? And here's an example of the metabolic chain. Same exercises as in the traditional strength training, but we do them at a much faster pace. There's no 1 to 2 minute rest between exercises. You go until you can't, then you rest only when you need to. So it says here, do 1 of each movement the first time through the chain, and then repeat the chain and add 1 rep to each movement until you get to 5. Okay? Or you can use a little bit of a lighter weight, and you can start at 5 and go 5, and the next time through go to 6, next time through go to 7, and work yourself up to 10. Okay, so you can have some fun with this. And again, this is just an example of a metabolic chain workout, but there must be, like I said, 40, 50 videos on the RX Studio where you can just follow along, or if you're not someone who wants to follow along like that, and you just want to take the PDF to the gym with you, we have those too. Okay, so now we're going to start talking about some options, some things you can do if you want to combine an Eat Less, Exercise Less model and an Eat More, Exercise More model in the same week. Okay, and this all depends on how often you can get to work out, and your job and your lifestyle and time that you have available. Okay, this is kind of where Susan and I are at right now. We kind of alternate between an Eat More, Exercise More model and an Eat Less, Exercise Less model. And I look at my schedule and I say, you know what? I'll give you an example. Tomorrow's Thursday. Okay, my first client is coming in at 5:15 a.m. tomorrow morning, and I have to work tomorrow night till about 6:45, 7 o'clock. So that's a 14-hour work day for me tomorrow. Tomorrow for me is going to be an Eat Less, Exercise Less day. I'm probably going to do some walking tomorrow because I just don't have time to get a big full-blown workout in. I got other things I have going, so that's not going to be a good day. Whereas Friday, I have a lot more flexibility of time, and I have the ability to eat more frequently. Okay, so again, let's go through a couple options here, and you're going to decide what's going to work best for you. Because remember, what Susan and I are teaching you is how to eat properly, exercise properly, and develop that healthy lifestyle. So some people who have a lot more availability to exercise during the week, and because they feel they need to eat more because it helps keep them a little sharper at work, you could do an Eat More, Exercise More model during the week, Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends, when you just want to go for walks, you can do Eat Less, Exercise Less. Or some people say, you know what, I'm just so busy during the week. It is so much easier for me during the week to do an Eat Less, Exercise Less during the week, where I do a lot of walking every day. Maybe I do a traditional workout, excuse me, on Tuesday and Thursday. You know, but walking is really I'm centering my week during doing walking and eating less during the week. But on the weekends, Mike, on the weekends, I like to go out to dinner. I like to eat a nice breakfast on Sunday, and I have a lot more availability of time. So I'm going to do 2 really heavy-duty workouts on the weekend. And heavy-duty workout doesn't mean a traditional strength training program. You could be saying, I'm going to do 2 metabolic training workouts on my weekend. I'm going to go really hard and heavy. Remember, we talk about things like breathlessness and burning and creating heat and going heavy. You could have some really awesome workouts on the weekends, but because you're working and training so hard, then you could eat a little bit more. Okay? We also have the 1 cheat meal on 1 day only. And for those people who are really kind of at their goal weight and are really happy with where they're at, and they want to go out and eat on the weekends, we have the 1 cheat meal on Saturday and Sunday only. So let's talk about these a little more in detail. Now, before we go any further, what's the barometers? How do we know that you're still in the process of accomplishing? Well, first of all, your heck is in check. You really don't have hunger or cravings over a level 5, right? Your hunger is a little more, and your cravings are in check, so to say. They're not dominating your mindset, or they're not keeping you from focusing on other things because you're hungry all the time. And you have really good energy. Like right now, it's 8:27, and I have crazy energy. As you can tell, I'm really up. My voice is fluctuating, and I have a lot of vim and vigor. And as I'm sitting in here in the chair, I feel like I'm going to jump out of the chair. So I'm in a really good place. My heck is in check. My metabolic effect body shape calculators are improving. We look at the circumference measurement of the waist and the chest for men. And in the women, we look at the circumference measurements more from the waist and the hips. And we're starting to see changes there. You know, I think it's important that we look at our numbers. And if you have questions on that, Susan and I are here to coach you on that. Percent body fat. My clothes fits me so good. I said last week I was sitting in a pair of jeans doing the call. I really felt comfortable in my clothes. And you feel good, strong, and energized. So these are your barometers that let you know that you're moving in the right direction. Now, during this process, many foods have been avoided, or better yet, eliminated. Okay, focus on these and add back in only what does not cause you to get your heck out of check or cause bloating, nausea, constipation, or energy drain. So what are these kind of foods? Well, that would be like wheat and gluten, breads, cereals, cakes, cookies, pies, ice cream, bagels, muffins. Okay, those are all glutens. Pita bread is a gluten. Dairy, corn, soy, refined sugars and starches. That would be like, you know, table sugar, you know, syrups, hydrogenated fats, trans fats, alcohol, food chemicals and additives, eggs and/or shellfish. All right, let me break this down real quick. So I just confused the heck out of everyone. All right, there are certain foods that I'm looking at here that I don't include in my diet. I eliminate them. Wheat and gluten being one of them, because it makes me feel tired and I get an energy drain. Dairy, because it doesn't agree with my stomach. Corn, I was never a real big corn guy, and most corn out there is genetically modified, as is soy. And soy causes some real funky hormonal imbalances, especially in men. So right there, right off the bat, bam, those are out. You know, do I have honey once in a while or organic maple syrup? Yes, but they're sparingly done. Starches I have no problem with. That's like my brown rice, my quinoa, my sweet potato, white potato, that kind of thing. So I don't have any problem with starches, so I've added that back in. Completely cut out hydrogenated oils and trans fats. Those are just junk. Those are horrible oils, and they cause a whole host of problems within the body. Alcohol is a funny thing for me. I'm not tolerating it, to be honest with you. I don't think, no, I didn't mention this on the call because it just happened. But anyone who's worked out with me in the last couple of days, I probably told you the story. Susan and I went out for Valentine's Day on Friday, and I had 2 glasses of red wine on Friday night, and on Saturday I felt arthritic. All the joints in my body hurt, and my hands got very, very dry, and to the point where I started getting the cracking around the fingernails again. So alcohol is a food that I had cut out for the first five weeks of this program, added it back in, and I had a negative result having done that. So in the section above, when I say, add back only what does not cause you to get your heck out of check, cause bloating or any other problems. So I may have a real problem with this. And alcohol is something that, quite frankly, through college and when Susan and I first got married, I didn't think I had any problem with it. So this is all kind of new to me. See, when you eliminate things out of your diet and put them back in, and all of a sudden, bam, something goes wrong, that's like a huge red flag. So you need to observe these things. Shellfish for me is always out because I can't eat shellfish. I'm allergic to it. Some people aren't allergic to it, but they add it back into their diet and they just don't feel good, or they don't. Sometimes people lose a taste for it. Now, eggs is one of those funny things. Eggs are great, but if you're eating eggs from chickens that were living in a cage and fed a soy and grain and corn diet, well, guess what? You're eating them too, because whatever the chicken eats, you end up eating. So if you're going to eat eggs, you got to go on the far end and you got to say, where are the cage-free organic eggs? Or if you want to come into town and buy your eggs at the butcher shop a couple doors down from me, he gets them. Those chickens get sunshine. They're outside. Chickens are carnivores. They eat worms just like birds. They are birds, right? So they have to be allowed to peck the ground. They also eat grass shoots. They don't go into the field, peel ears of corn, and start eating dried corn. That's not what chickens do. So eggs are great. Chicken is great, but it's got to be cage-free, free range, chickens that are healthy. You don't want to eat a sick animal because then you get sick, right? Okay. What to watch for? Okay, now keep in mind, when fat and starch are combined, they decrease something called hormone-sensitive lipase, which is a fat-burning enzyme, and they increase lipoprotein lipase, which is a fat-storing enzyme. So remember, I said this earlier. In our genetic history, there were times there was no food available. So these enzymes saved us from starvation. And that's why carbs and fats are so attractive to us. So if you're gaining weight, watch your combining fat and starches. So I have people in the first 4 weeks told me I lost 10 pounds, I lost 11 pounds, I'm feeling good. Now we're into an eat more, exercise more model, and all of a sudden people are gaining weight back and they're not happy, and the clothes all of a sudden aren't fitting them. Okay, well, let's look at what we're doing. That's why Susan and I are here. This isn't a recorded message you're listening to tonight. This is me live, and we're here to coach you live and coach you after the call and between this call and next call. We're here to coach you. So if you're combining fats and sugars in the same meals, okay, this is a combination for you to start storing body fat again. Now, can you do it safely? Can you have a sweet potato with some olive oil on it? Yes, but you have to watch the amounts that you eat them in. Remember, we're not eating like, you're not just taking the bottle of olive oil out and just pouring it on. You're starting to weigh and measure things, maybe a teaspoon. You're not eating the biggest sweet potato you can get your hands on, or you're not just pouring the bag of sweet potato fries on the cookie sheet and just eating everything in sight. You have to start to look at the plate. Remember we talked about the plate earlier and how most of it is green and a lean protein and some starch and or fat. Okay, it's not all starch and fat. It's a little starch and fat. We always tell people have bites. Bites are easy to count. I had 5 bites and I'm done. Okay, you don't need a lot of sugar to sustain the brain and nervous system. So you don't have to eat a ton of it. Again, I'd much rather you have protein, fiber, and water as the primary sources of your meals, and then add in the starches and the fats. Okay. Now, keeping your heck in check. Excuse me. Even in maintenance, remember to watch your hunger level, your energy levels, and your cravings. If you can't control cravings anymore, you need to modify the approach you've taken. If you've taken the wrong approach, your heck will get out of check. One place where you can easily fall off the rails is when you start eating highly palatable food again. So let's say you've avoided, you've avoided alcohol. I'll use that as an example, okay? And all of a sudden you say, well, I'm just gonna have a glass of wine. You drink the whole bottle, okay? Not picking on you, I'm just saying that could be a trigger food for you, okay? Or, we talked about beer being a grain and an alcohol, okay? It's made of corn, hops and wheat and barley and all that kind of stuff. So people say, well, I'm just gonna have a beer, and they drink 3 or 4 of them, okay? Or people put bread back in their diet. And instead of having 1 slice of Ezekiel bread, they're eating half the loaf of Italian bread. Now, I'm not picking on you. I'm just letting you know where it can go. So most of us have had the experience of going along fine with our diet, our exercise, and our healthy lifestyle. And then we decide to add a cheat meal in and indulge a bit of food we love, like pizza. And as soon as we do this, is if we're taken over by some evil demon that is forcing us to eat everything in sight. So if you add a trigger food back in, and you just all of a sudden it's just like everything goes, you know that this is not, you're not ready for it yet. Okay, and in later weeks we'll talk about some strategies, but this is not the time 6 weeks into a 12-week program to sabotage it or throw the towel in. Okay, we want to help you get through this. If you want to add a cheat meal in, that's fine, but it's got to be 1 meal, not starting Friday morning and ending Monday morning, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is anything goes. So all of a sudden our cheat meal turns into a cheat week or a cheat weekend. That's what we see a lot. Why? Okay, there's an emerging understanding and research, mostly on animals, but being quickly affirmed in humans, that certain foods not only lead us to overeat at the current meal, but cause cravings for more of those highly enjoyable foods later. Some have described this as being food addicted, and the research is showing that this is not far from the truth. So be aware of the negative spiral. Choose your food. Which foods are on our watch list, especially at this stage when you might feel like the heavy lifting of weight loss is over? Foods high in a combination of any of the following: salt, fat, sugar, and starch. So what's a salt, fat, sugar, and starch food? Pizza. Okay, pizza has, they always put salt on pizza. Fat is cheese, sugar is the tomato sauce, excuse me, and starch is the crust. What else is a salt, fat, sugar, starch meal? A donut. Yes, there's salt. They put salt in donuts. It's fat because it's deep fried, powdered sugar, and the starch is the whatever flour they use to make a donut. Okay. Another one would be pasta, especially like a big ziti monogut lasagna. Okay. Salt, fat, sugar, and starch all in the same meal. These are foods that can really sabotage you. I'll be honest with you. I don't eat stuffed shells, monogut, lasagna, and I'm Italian, okay? Because these are foods that I personally cannot just say, well, I'm going to have a little bit, because that's not going to work, okay? We don't eat pizza, because I have certain goals for myself that I'm not going to allow myself to be sabotaged. It's okay. So in choosing foods, so foods containing both fat, sugar, like donuts, and sugar or salt, or most concerning fat, sugar, and salt. Okay, even fat and starch can be an issue for some. So here we go: bagels and cream cheese, pizza, bread and butter. Okay, these foods may seem to be the only things that will satisfy a craving or crush your hunger in the short run, but they typically end up with you craving more of those same foods later. This is why you want to do your best to avoid them if possible. Eating some of these foods can make certain people end up in a negative spiral of cravings and high amounts of food intake and weight gain. It also seems there may be a genetic component to this, so pay close attention to your individual reactions to these foods when choosing your cheat meal. If your cheat meal turns into a cheat week, you will quickly know what the deal is and need to dial things back. Remember, the best way to help an unbalanced metabolism recover is to revert back to either a full 3-2-1 or 3-2-2 approach. Draw on all you've learned just to make sure you can seek balance. And remember, getting your heck back in check, that's your goal. So for most of us, I'll give you an example. For most of us on this call, if you go into a negative spiral, I would go back that day, next day, to a shake, walking, don't exercise, just walk that day, walk for an hour, whole food meal with a lot of greens, protein, and very little starch that night, like half a sweet potato, half a white potato, half a cup of brown rice, that sort of thing. Lots of water, go to bed. Okay, and then the next day, stay with a 3-2-1, maybe do a shake in the morning, nice salad with protein at lunchtime, maybe add in a traditional weight training workout that day, dinner, lots of greens, protein, a little bit of starch, lots of water, go to bed. Get your heck back in check. That's your goal. So like at every phase, you'll have to adjust or tweak if something's going wrong, you're not burning fat, worse, you're gaining fat. So in this case, if this is the case at this phase, as I just said, go back to a 3-2-1 or 3-2-2 approach. Now, some people do better. They say, Mike, I just want to work out more. I'll eat clean, but I'll just exercise a whole lot more, and I'll make sure I eat very clean. If that works for you, that's fine. But I have found that most people going back to an eat less, exercise less model will get their heck back in check a whole lot faster. And not heavy lifting, but walking helps to lower stress hormones and helps get your hormonal balance back. So do not try to eat less and exercise more, because it will make things a lot worse. If I have to repeat that to any of you, it's crazy, because we've talked about how eat less, exercise more doesn't work. Avoid foods that combine starch, sugar, and fat. Perhaps even the healthy versions, like what's the healthy version of a starch, sugar, and a fat? I don't know. I can't think of many right now, because I'm so into eating clean with my proteins and my fiber and my water. Modify your carbohydrate intake downward, and make sure you modify your fat intake downward if you're gaining fat. If all of a sudden you put on a pair of pants last week, they were great, put them on this week, can't button them, something's going wrong. Okay, remember to focus on diet inputs, not exercise. Compensating with exercise often will make things worse, and is never the best approach to balance out the metabolism. Food is. Go back to the food first. Okay, get that straightened out. Get your hunger, energy, and cravings in check, and start walking. If a slight decrease in carbs or fat doesn't work, then knock off a little bit more. The key to success is keeping your heck in check and knowing your tolerance for the individual foods that cause you issues if you're overdone. Okay, so cheat meal could be a Friday night out for drinks with the friends. Again, let's be honest about this. Drinks doesn't mean 2 Cosmos and a bottle of wine. Could be, I'm going to have a nice glass of wine with dinner tonight. Excuse me. A Saturday afternoon burger, a pizza while watching the game, or a Sunday pancake brunch with the girls, right? So one cheat meal, but it's not the whole day. It's a meal. So on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night, we do want you to eat what you want. That's where the cheat meal comes into play. But what does this mean specifically? Well, it means different things to all of us. This is when Susan should be in the room handing me water, right? Yeah, she'd love to hear from me. She's so sweet. There we go. All right, the easiest way to think about it is just eat 100% freely without limitation at 1 It says to 3 meals during the weekend, but guys, let's start with 1. I don't think any of us are in the point where we can have a cheat meal Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. That's just not practical. Okay, now you may find doing this one time is more than adequate, and any more causes you to slip back. Or you might find you can easily do 3 meals in this fashion and get great results. I don't know if that's true for us right now, maybe down the road. And remember, limit this meal to a 2-hour time frame to keep yourself from continually eating all day. The perfect example of this is I'm going to a wedding on Saturday night. My nephew's getting married. All right, well, if the cocktail hour starts at 6 o'clock, then you eat what you want from 6 to 8. Drink what you want from 6 to 8. But that's it. Okay, Sunday morning when everyone gets up the next day and goes to brunch, you're back on your 3-2-1 or your 3-2-2 program. You're not saying, okay, well, I had my lasagna and bread and 3 glasses of wine on Saturday night. Now I'm going to go have pancakes. No, that's not what you want to do. Okay. Now remember, it's a process. It's always changing. In our experience, we've noticed that people prefer to be looking for something to do rather than doing something. What does that mean? They're always looking for the next best thing. Okay, translation. Oftentimes, even if we find something that works, we still feel we need to seek out something else. Okay, maintenance is a process that needs to be practiced and mastered over time, rather than a protocol that is followed for a short while and then abandoned for something else. People always say, well, I'm going to go on this diet or I'm going to go on that diet. Guys, a lot of us on the call have already seen this works. Remember what I say, if your heck is in check and you're losing weight, don't change anything. You're moving in the right direction. Don't sabotage yourself, okay? Don't say, well, I'm on this diet this week and next week all I'm going to do is eat grapefruit. I mean, that's crazy. You know, we're your coaches. Allow us to help you. If you have questions and concerns, that's why we're here. Okay, so that, you know, changing up from one diet to another, well, that's a dieter's way of thinking, not a diet detective's. You need to guard against the dieter's mentality and maintenance. The path to mastery comes through practicing what you know, and again, and avoiding the natural human tendency to try to find something else. Think of it like learning to play a musical instrument or learning a new language. You continue to practice over and over again. You just don't learn the violin one day and put it down. You keep at it. Maintenance is an ongoing journey. The behaviors, the heck in check, staying on track and balanced, all of this needs to be reinforced over and over and over so they become habits. A lot of what we've talked about is biochemical, but there's a huge behavioral component as well. If EL is working for you, stay with it, but please incorporate one cheat meal with a 2-hour limit per week. I think that's very, very doable. That's more or less what I do, quite frankly. I used to be a big eater, and I used to lift real heavy. And if you notice my workouts, when you talk to me, I really am more into an eat less, exercise less model. It works for me. Sometimes when I lift too heavy, I just irritate my joints now. I can't lift real heavy no more. No, isn't this nice? The phone's ringing in the middle of my call. And it's a 1-800 number, so I'm just trying to sell me new windows or something. So let me dump the call. Dump the call. There we go. Now I can keep talking. If you do EL during the week and EM on weekends, please do, or vice versa. Monitor your heck in check and your body shape. Use your aim to determine the course of action needed to have optimal health and happiness. Okay? Guess what, guys? I'm done. I'm going to get out of this screen, go back to my other screen where there'll be questions. And I know Susan stays on top of this, so she probably answered some of the questions. And someone said that they can't hear the presentation. Oops. Well, Susan was on her computer, her tablet, laptop, whatever she was on, and I know she said she could hear me, so I'm not sure what happened. But you will get a recorded message of this email tomorrow. I'm going to try to shoot a video with you guys. But if you have any questions, you can shoot them in the chat box. I enabled the chat box. And let's see. Give me 1 second, guys. See, Susan put anything in the videos this week? No. We're going to send you out those videos, so don't worry about it. I don't see anything new in the chat box, so it's 10 to 8. Susan's running in here. Didn't you want me to redirect them to another page?
Yeah, if you wanted to, and they, basically what happens if they're on a tablet, sometimes it's because it's live and being recorded on YouTube, it pauses, and you just have to hit the play button, and that's really what's happening.
Okay.
I think it's under attendees. Here is to redirect them to this YouTube on.
We're gonna try something, guys. Yeah, but I can't see it now.
I don't know. Let me go see if I can see it.
All right. I just tried to redirect you to something. And
Yes, if anyone has questions.
I did ask if anyone had questions. I'm going to ask again if anybody has questions. Susan's the engineer.
They can hear the video, Mike, and you're talking over it.
Tell me when it's done playing. I need an engineer who can actually sit in the room with me instead of getting up and out.
Yes, it's done.
Okay, it's done. Well, I'll start talking again then. All right, the reason you saw the hydrate video tonight is a lot of times people confuse thirst for hunger, and that's a big problem. So you should be drinking more water. For those of us who don't like the taste of just plain water, we want to put something in it. Hydrate is a great tool. I keep it in my office. I have little tubes of it. If you're bringing a bottle of water, I'll make some for you. If you don't have a bottle of water, I'll mix it up in my shaker bottle and pour it into a paper cup and have you guys try it. But I use something in my water because I just like the way it tastes. So if you want to try the hydrate out, come on in. It's also available at mikekeenan520.idlife.com. So you can go on and order it if you'd like to. Okay.
Any questions?
There's no questions. It's 5 to 9. I'm going to shut it down, but I'll be on Facebook in the next 5 minutes. And feel free. Everyone, I'm looking at Susan. Susan's nodding her head saying everyone has access to the VIP page. So we're set to go. Guys, have a great night. And like I said, if you need me, I'll be on Facebook in the next couple of minutes, and we can chat there. Take care. Have a great night.